What's going on, creators and creatives? My name is Dill. Welcome to the channel. In today's video, we're going to be recreating this MrBeast thumbnail, but using my face. I'm going to take you guys along the process of how I would create a MrBeast thumbnail, and we'll compare the two at the end. If you're new here, I'm a thumbnail designer with over 7 years of experience, and I've worked with some of the biggest creators on YouTube. If you want to learn more about creating thumbnails, then be sure to subscribe. And now, let's start designing. Okay, so in order to recreate this thumbnail, I'm going to need a picture of myself. I really tried my best to get the perfect picture that matches the perspective and angle of MrBeast. Here it is. It's not perfect, but I think it'll work. So let's start cutting myself out. To do so, I'm just gonna grab the magic wand tool, come over to select subject, and use the cloud version. And it usually does a pretty good job. There we go. It's not perfect, but now I just go in with the brush tool and refine the mask. There we go. Now that I'm all cut out, let's start working on the color correction. So to do this, the first thing that I'm going to do is add a camera raw filter. So within camera raw filter, I'm going to increase the exposure, turn down the contrast because I will paint the highlights and shadows artificially afterwards. I'm going to bump up the shadows a ton just so that there's not any harsh lighting on my face. I'm liking how this is looking. I pushed everything a little bit more yellow and a tiny bit more pink. Now in the effects tab, I'm going to bump up the texture. I'm going to decrease the clarity just so that my skin looks a lot smoother and dehaze it a tad bit. There we go. Next up in the curves section, let's do a little S curve just to give a little bit more contrast. I'm liking the look of that. Next, let's head over to the color mixer and make everything pop a little bit more and make my face look a little more natural, because right now everything is a little too red for my liking. And there we go. I sharpened the image a tiny bit and increased the noise reduction a little bit, but I'm liking how this is looking straight out of the camera raw filter. So next, let's start adding all the other effects. There we go. The camera raw filter is done, and I'm loving how it's looking right now. But before we move on to any other steps, I want to line myself up with MrBeast thumbnail and make sure I'm in the right position and the angle is looking good. So let's go ahead and do that. The first issue that I'm noticing with my image is that my head is turned the wrong way. So to fix this, I'm gonna cut out my head from my body and just flip it horizontally from the image. So I'm going to duplicate myself and cut my head out from the rest of my body. There we go. Nice and easy. Boom. Now we just have a floating head. Oh man, I kind of look good as MrBeast. Okay, so I know this is looking a little wonky right now. It definitely does not look good at all, but I just want to get everything lined up, and I might have to cut some more things out to match the perspective that I want. So let me go fiddle with that right now. Okay, so I cut my arm out. I have everything where I want it to be. Next, I think I'm gonna need to use some generative fill to get rid of my face over here and give me a neck, because right now I don't have one and I kind of need one. So let me go do that and I will be right back. Okay, nice. Now my second head is gone and it's just my first head. So let's try and add in my neck now. There we go. And now my neck is finally added. Now I just need to get rid of my bracelet and touch up my bicep area where my arm goes underneath my shirt. So that should be pretty simple. Let me do that and I will be right back. Okay, I got everything lined up pretty perfectly. Now I think we're able to move on to the next step of making my face look more like MrBeast's face effects. Let's start first by doing some dodging and burning and adding some highlights and also some shadows. Okay, so I'm doing some dodging right now and I'm trying to match it as much as I can to MrBeast's original image from the thumbnail. Okay, so this is is looking pretty good. It's a little much right now, but I'm going to lower the opacity of the dodging. Now let's move on to the burning and adding some shadows, following the same exact process as the highlights, except this time I'm adding in the shadows. I like to use this to kind of contour my face and pull all the focus to the center of my face and my eyes, and darken any hair. There we go. After some dodging and burning, everything is looking very nice. Here is the before and here is the after. Now I think we can start to whiten my teeth and my eyes and just bring out some of the colors some more. To do this, I usually just paint over my teeth and the whites in my eyes, switch it to color, and then duplicate the layer one more time and switch it to soft light just so that it brightens up. There we go. My teeth are whitened. Now let's do the same thing to my eyes. There we go. Now let's just repeat these similar steps to my arm and my hands just to emphasize it a little more and make it more congruent with the effects on my face. There we go. Now everything is looking so good. I also added a color balance here to make everything a little more pink and to match MrBeast's skin tone a little bit more. I think I just found the perfect image to use for this thumbnail. Over on Envato Elements, we have this picture that I think is going to work perfectly. So let's download it and throw it into the thumbnail. So I traced out the outline of the branch and where I want it to be. So now let's go ahead and throw on the log texture onto this branch and see how we're liking it. Now I am loving how this is looking. I had to duplicate the log a couple times just to fill in all of the space of the branch that I wanted, but it's looking pretty good. Next, we have to match the color of the tree branch more so with the color in MrBeast's thumbnail, and also fix up these lines where you can tell that I duplicated the image a couple times. So to do that, I'm going to add a brown layer clipping mask right on top of the logs, set it to color mode, and that should fix up that little bluish tone that we have going on here. There we go. The brown is looking much better. Now let's just fix the jagged edges. There we go. I fixed up the edge down here. The way that I'm doing it is by grabbing a very soft brush on 1% flow and just kind of deleting or adding to places that I think need to look better, just like this. And there we go. I think that looks a lot better. Now let's start adding some shadows and some highlights. All right, and there we go. I added in some shadows on the underside here just by painting over with a black or dark brown brush, as well as some highlights that I painted over just with a white brush on a low flow. And I added a color balance just to make it match with the log in MrBeast's thumbnail some more. I think this is looking so awesome. Now that the general shadows are added to the log, let's start adding the contact shadows underneath my arm or right where my shirt is pressed up against the log. To do this, I'm going to be following the same exact steps as what I was doing earlier, just like this, painting over, and now just a big general shadow. Already looking so much better just with that one simple shadow. Now I'm just going around the fingers and adding general shadows where I think they should be. Obviously, this is never going to be perfect, but the more you study and the more you kind of observe how real shadows are, the easier this will be for you. Nice. This is looking so good. Look at that difference. Now I think the next step is to add some contact shadows to my arm and my shirt. Same thing as the log, but this time on myself. I'm liking how this is looking now. Still a bit rough. Shadows are always so tough to replicate and to get right. but I think we've done a great job so far. Now I think we're good to move on to some of the scarring and scratches that MrBeast has on his face as well as his arms and hands. So the way that I like to do this is I like to grab my lasso tool and make a couple very rough selections and then fill them in with a dark red brush. Now we take this layer, create a clipping mask over it. Let's grab a more red brush, fill in the bigger areas with the lighter red, and now we can go into the layer styles of this and add in some highlights and shadows. There we go. I added a couple inner shadows and a inner glow. I have my shadows kind of showing the indentation in the skin itself and showing the layers of the skin. Now I think we should add some red glow around these cuts to kind of make it look like it's irritated and it just happened and it's not really healed yet. There we go. I just took a brush this color and just put it over the cuts, put it on linear burn, and made sure the blend if was on, and brought back some of the whites in the skin. Now let's add some similar scratch marks over here, as well as some more cuts in my fingers. I think my arm is complete now. I just repeated the steps that I did onto my arm, onto my hands as well. Now let's add in this little scar mark he has on his face and throw it onto my face following those same steps. Boom, there we go. This is looking so good. Next, let's move on to the little teddy bear down here. He looks so cute and so friendly. Yeah, I found this 3D model on Envato Elements, and I think I'm going to use it for the body of the bear. I still need to find a different image for the head, but we can do that right after this. There we go. I also found this image online. I think it's going to be perfect to use as the head and the mouth of the bear and just make it look vicious and evil and like it's about to attack me. Let's go ahead and combine these two images. The first thing that we are going to do is cut out the head of the bear and throw it onto the body of the 3D model and see if it works. Okay, I'm seeing some potential. Obviously, some things still need to be cleaned up. This does not look like a cohesive image, but I think it works for what we need. Let's throw this guy in down here and line him up with the original. There we go. This guy is looking so scary. Nice. I'm loving this. Now let's just use some generative fill to fill in this part of his leg that got cut off when we were cutting out the bear. There we go. This furry guy got his leg back. Now I'm going to refine the selection of his hair around his head just to kind of make it look like it is the same image. To do that, all I'm going to do is double click on the layer mask and come up here to refine hair. Now this gives us a very good starting point. There are still some things we need to fix up and clean, but it is a lot better. There we go. This is looking so much better. Now let's use some color balance and try and match the color of the bear's head to its body. There we go. Now it actually looks like one image, but there is one problem. The bear in MrBeast thumbnail is black and ours right now is brown. So let's go and make this a black bear. There we go. Using some simple adjustment layers, I got a similar looking color to the original bear right now. Now we need to go into each mask individually and mask out the areas that need to have their original color, such as the mouth, around the eyes, and maybe some areas on its spine. Just like this. Already looking much better. There we go. It's looking so good. Now let's go ahead and make the bear's mouth a lot more pink and bring out the teeth and the eyes some more. There we go. I'm whitening and brightening the bear's teeth some more. I honestly can't believe I'm doing that to a bear, but you gotta do what you gotta do. Now let's go ahead and make the mouth a lot more pink and a lot more red. There we go. Look at that mouth. Now I'm going to use generative fill and try and get better looking eyes to this bear, a little more exaggerated and a little more open like the original in MrBeast. There we go. Look at those vicious eyes. There we go. This is looking so sick. Nice. I added a camera raw filter just to sharpen it up a bit more, and now it's looking amazing. Now it's time to work on this background. I don't think it'll be too hard. Let's get started. I found this image online. I think it comes from a 3D model, but I think this will be perfect to use as the ground in our thumbnail. Here it is in the thumbnail, and I love it. I think it works perfect. Now let's add a camera raw filter to the ground, make it a little brighter, a little more saturated, and we'll be good. There we go. We have applied the camera raw filter. Now I'm going to find a dirt/sand texture to kind of mix in with the background in these spots that don't have much grass. Here we go. I found this image online and I think it's gonna work perfect. Okay, so I filled in the areas that need to be the dirt instead of the grass. Now let's see how it looks all combined. And that looks pretty good for what it is right now. Let's do some more touching up and making sure it blends almost seamlessly with the grass background. There we go. All I did was touch up the edges of the dirt, and now it's already looking so much better. Now I just need to find these little bushes and plants that are kind of around the edges of this thumbnail and fill them in to mine. This 3D model from Envato is going to work perfectly as our leaves. All we need to do is rotate it up this way and download this image and just keep placing them around the thumbnail. And there we go. I've placed all the plants. Now we just got to make sure they look like they are actually a part of the scene. There we go. And now it is looking a lot more cohesive with the rest of the scene. Last but certainly not least, we need to add in these shirt tear effects to my shirt. So to do this, I'm going to make a random messy selection in the shape that I want and fill it in with black for now. Next, I'm going to find a smooth part of skin from my body and throw it over top of that selection. So for this, I'm going to use my hand since it has the most surface area. I'm gonna take this selection, put it over top of my mask, and there we go. Now I'm going to select the original selection, create a layer mask using that selection, and then going to filter gallery and using the spatter effect. There we go. Shout out to Joseph Blaze for teaching me how to do this and getting a clean shirt tear. So from there we go into the layer styles. We're going to add a inner shadow that is the edge of the shirt, as well as another one on the top side, and then a inner glow that is black to cast some shadows onto my skin. From there, I'm going to make my skin a lot darker like it is underneath my shirt. There we go. Now we can just have some fun with this mask and fill it in with a random scattered brush. There we go. We have one shirt tear completed. Repeating the same process for these small 3 little holes here. I added the third shirt tear using the same process as the last 2. Now all that's left is doing the same process for the scratches, but finally right here. Guys, this is incredible. I think now we just need to add the text and the final camera raw filter, and we're gonna be done. There we go. Oh my god, I'm just so impressed with myself. I love how this turned out. Now let's add the final camera raw filter. Yes. Oh my god, I'm at a loss for words. This turned out so sick. It's not exact, it's not perfect, but I think it's in my own way and in my own style, and it's me. I'm the face. Let's see mine versus MrBeast. I'm so proud of myself. This looks incredible, way better than I thought it would. I hope you guys enjoyed. If you did, be sure to like the video, comment if you learned something new, and subscribe. This is my 3rd video ever. The support on the last 2 videos has been insane, so thank you guys so much. Be sure to stick around for more, and that's all I got. I love you guys. Peace out.